Hello and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you a project I worked on during the summer months, as well as teaching you about one of my favourite fish. This is my outdoor pond which I set up just over a year ago at the end of last summer. The pond is set into a flower bed, so it is surrounded by plants and filled with aquatic plants, along with a group of Japanese ricefish. Today I'm going to be talking about these fish and showing you how I'm building a colony of them. Whenever summer arrives and the weather starts to get warmer, you start to see breeding behaviour from the fish. Females will get very fat and carry bundles of eggs under their tail. They scatter the eggs by swimming into plants and sticking the eggs onto the leaves. Plants with fine leaves such as mosses, but also floating plants with complicated long root systems are great for these fish to lay their eggs on. And if left alone, you will start to see baby fish appearing in areas with a lot of plant coverage where they can hide from the adults. Ricefish adults will eat their fry, but once they get big enough to be recognisable as a fish, they're normally left alone. This means they need a few weeks hiding in dense plant coverage like this to hide from the adults. A few weeks into summer, you should start to see baby fish popping up. There won't be massive numbers, however, as a lot of them will get predated on. Outside in a wildlife pond like this, especially during the summer, there's a lot of microorganisms swimming about in the pond, so you don't need to give them any extra food. Although this is a good, easy, hands-off way to grow your colony slowly, year after year, I wanted to do it faster and get a higher number of fish, so now I'm going to show you how I did that. First of all, I always made sure the adult fish had plenty to eat. This can mean feeding twice a day. This makes sure that they're all fattened up and in breeding mode. The first method I used was the spawning mop method. I used a mop made from wool and put it in the shallows of the pond so that the ricefish could use it to lay their eggs on. The spawning mop method is used with a lot of different species of fish. And after leaving the mop in the water for about a week, I took it out and looked through it for eggs. When I find an egg, I very gently and carefully roll it onto my finger using my thumb to help. You have to be really careful not to squish it, as they are extremely delicate. I then place the eggs in a jar, set up with a few plants, some algae, and pond water. This is really all you need to hatch the eggs. It is a perfect environment with still clean water for the fry to hatch out in. The other, and my preferred method of breeding the ricefish, is to use a lump of Java moss in place of the spawning mop. The ricefish also prefer laying their eggs on this surface, so you'll get a lot more eggs. It's also easier to not miss any eggs, as all you do is fill up a jar with pond water and put the whole lump of Java moss into it. After a few days, the surface of the jar should be teeming with life as all the little fish hatch out. Now obviously, for anyone at home that wants to breed these fish but doesn't have an adult group to start with, you won't be able to use these methods that I'm telling you. So if any of you are in the UK or Ireland and want to purchase adults or eggs of these Japanese ricefish, send me an email and let me know you're interested. I'll be able to sell them to you privately, but if there's enough interest, by next summer I hope to have an online shop open, so that everyone can have a chance at owning these great fish. If you're wondering, would I be able to keep these fish outside year-round in a cold climate? My adult group overwintered perfectly fine in snow and under a layer of ice, living in Ireland. So they are very resilient and flexible for a tropical Japanese fish. Now back to the video. Once they've hatched out in that jar, after a few days it's time to transfer them to a bigger container. I'm using the no-filter bowl that I set up last year, as it's a perfect environment for them with no water movement and lots of plants. It's also very easy to maintain and set up. If you want to see how I made it, you can watch that video on my channel. At this age, the fry grow very fast, but it also depends on the temperature of the water, the amount of food they're getting, and also the amount of sunlight they're getting. I keep the bowl beside a window and feed them hikari first bites. After a few more weeks of growth, the fish are big enough to be moved into my community tank. Every week or so I just pick out a small group of the biggest fish in the bowl, put them in a bucket and bring them up to my tank. Once the fish in the tank reach adulthood, I do the same thing and move them up to an even bigger container, aka back to the pond. You can see here an adult fish that's been living in the pond for a long time beside the group that I just took out from the tank. It's quite a bit bigger, with a lot better colouring, and this shows how much better they do outdoors with natural sunlight and natural food. The ones raised inside quickly adapt and change colour and get a growth spurt once I put them outside. So as you can see, the whole thing is a repetitive cycle of putting the moss in the pond, the moss in a jar, raising the eggs to adulthood, putting the adult fish back into the pond to lay eggs in the moss again. And by repeating that again and again is how you build a colony. I hope you enjoyed this video and learned something from it. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.